Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we start our lesson, let us recite 5 surah. The first one, Surah Al-Fatihah. The second one, Surah Toha ayat 1 hingga 5. And then Surah Al-Inshirah, Surah Quraish, and Surah Al-Ikhlas by 3 times. After that, selawat ke atas Rasulullah SAW selama 2 minit. Dan kita niatkan selawat kita ni yang pertama untuk memenuhi perintah Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, kedua untuk memenuhi hak Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, dan yang ketiga untuk mendapat syafaat Rasulullah di akhirat kelak. Dan kita niatkan juga segala bacaan hafalan surah kita ni dan selawat kita ni untuk kedua orang tua dan seluruh umat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Kemudian doa sebelum belajar. Semoga dengan amalan ini akan membuka pintu hati para pelajar untuk mencintai ilmu dan mendapat ilmu yang berkah. Amin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى الرحمن على العرش استوى. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. 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 محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل 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 محمد
Doa sebelum belajar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma aftah alaina hikmataka wanshur alaina min hazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ya Allah, bukakanlah ke atas kami hikmat-hikmatmu dan limpahilah ke atas kami khazanah rahmatmu. Wahai yang maha pemurah lagi maha penyayang.
Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Ya Rabbku, lapangkanlah untukku dadaku dan mudahkanlah untukku urusanku dan lepaskanlah kekakuan dari lidahku, supaya mereka mengerti perkataanku.
Amin.
Amin, 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 Ya Rabbal Alamin. In this session, we will discuss about topic 1.5, properties of numbers and sequence. And it will include two subtopics. First, 1.5.1, terms of linear sequence, and second one, 1.5.2, finding the n terms. And let us discuss first the 1.5.1, terms of linear sequence. So, please get ready with your notes, page 31 until 34, and your worksheet, page 30 and 31. Learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to generate terms of a linear sequence, recognizing and using terms to terms and position to terms rules. Now, steps to success. First, you need to find the common difference between the terms. Second, study the term to terms and position to term rule. And last one, make a sequence using the n term by substituting different values for the term number. And the last step here is for finding the position to terms rule, position to terms sequence. Okay. Now, let us start by the introduction. Number sequences are set of numbers that all follow a certain pattern or rule. The second one, each number in a sequence is called a terms. You should know this by now because we already learned about this during year 7. Okay, a sequence which increases or decreases by the same amount means common difference. Each time is called a linear sequence. linear sequence have common difference. Okay. Here will be the two different methods to generate the terms of a sequence. First, the terms to terms rule, and second one, the position to terms rule. Alright, and how are we going to use this term to terms rule to generate sequence? First, find the common difference or ratio. And the second one, you can add, subtract, multiply, or divide this number from the last term to find the next term. And this part, you can identify the sequence to be add, subtract, multiply, or divide by having the common difference of that sequence. Okay. And this terms to terms rule we already learned in year 7. So here we just need to review and revise again about this rule. Okay. Now focus with position to terms rule. First, create a formula in terms of n for the sequence if the formula is not given. But if the formula is given, you just need to use that formula given. Okay. And then you just need to substitute the n terms into the formula to generate the sequence. Okay. And last one, this will give you the term for that position. Okay. And by now you should know what is term, what is position. I already explained about that one last year. So please revise again this topic in year 7. Now, terms to terms rule. The term to term rules of a sequence describes how to get from one term to the next terms. For example, in this page 32, example 1, work out the next two terms in the following sequence and write down the term to term rules. You need to be careful with the questions, and you need to identify what the question want, because sometimes the question want you to write down position to terms rules. Okay, so this term to terms rule, write down the terms to terms rule, is actually the key information. Okay, and here you have two questions. First, you need to work out the next two terms, underline that one. And the second one, you need to write down the terms to terms rule, how you get that sequence. Okay, now first and foremost, you need to find the common difference. So from one terms to another terms, the difference is 4, only 4, at 4. Okay, positive 4. Therefore, you continue this sequence until you get the next two terms, which will be 19 and 23. And what will be the terms to terms rule? At 4. Okay, like that. Okay. Now, example 2, I will give you 1 minute to try. Okay. Work out the next two terms in the following sequence and write down the term to term rules. And please read the question carefully. By now, you should read the question carefully, because sometimes the question asks you to find out the position to terms rules. Okay, you already know the difference between terms to terms and position to terms rule. So be careful with that. And here we focus with term to terms rules. So you need to find the difference between the terms. And here the difference is plus 0.5. Okay. Next two terms are 1 and 1.5. And the terms to terms rules will be 8 0.5. Example 3. You have 1 minute to try. Okay. What are the next three terms of a sequence that has a first term of 1, where the terms to terms rule is multiplied by 2? The first term is 1. Okay, so the first term here must be 1, and the term to term rule is multiplied by 2. Therefore, you need to multiply by 2 to get the next terms, right? And then what are the next three terms? The next three terms will be 2, 4, and 8. Moving on with position to terms rules, or we call it n terms. Okay, when we talk about n terms, that means we are talking about position to term rules, and we are talking about formula. All right, n terms is a position to term rule that works out a term at position n, where n means any position in the sequence. Okay, now in this example 4, find the first 4 terms of the sequence where for n minus 2 using the position to term rules. And here you need to use position to terms rule. You need to underline, circle these keywords. And when the question asks you to use position to terms rule, you need to apply this formula. Okay, you cannot use the term to terms rule. All right. Now, since you need to find the first 4 terms of the sequence, you simply substitute. Okay, you simply need to substitute the position into the formula. And you must know what is position, what is terms. Here, the first term will be the first position. Okay, second terms will be the second position. Third terms will be the third position, and fourth terms will be the fourth position. Okay, and then substitute the first, second, third, and fourth position here into this formula, and you will get each term's sequence. Okay, the terms for each sequence. The first term you will got 2, second term 6, third term 10, fourth terms will be 14. After that, don't stop up to here, finalize your answers. Okay, therefore the first 4 terms of the sequence for n minus 2 are 2, 6, 10, 14. Okay, moving on with example 5. In example 5, you need to write the first 5 terms of the sequence where 2n plus 3 using the position to terms rule. Okay, underline the keywords. And the question asks you to use position to terms rule, so you need to use that formula. And to generate the sequence, you need to substitute the value of n into this formula. Okay, 2n plus 3. The first term you need to change that n into 1, so you will get 5. The second terms, you need to change that n into 2, so you will get 7. The third terms, you will substitute, you will change that n into 3, so your answer will be 9. The fourth terms, change that n into 4, so your answer will be 11. And last one, the fifth term, you need to change that n into 5, therefore you will get 13. After you have all of this value, list down all of this value and generate the sequence. Okay, so the answer will be 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Example 6. You have 1 minute to try. Okay. Find the first three terms of the sequence where 10n plus 4 using the position to terms rule. So you cannot use term to terms rules to approach these questions. Okay. And then you for the first term you need to substitute 1 into that n, so you will get 14. Second term, substitute 2 into that n, you will get 24. And the third terms, substitute 3 on that n, and then you will get 34. Therefore, your final answer will be 14, 24, and 34. Now, example 7. I give you 1 minute to try first. Okay. For the sequence for n minus 1, you need to find the first, second, and ninth terms. So you just need to find out the first, the second, and the ninth terms. Okay. For the first term, just substitute 1 into that n, so you will get 3. For the second term, substitute 2 on that n, you will get 7. And the last one, substitute 9 into that n, and you should get 35. The first term is 3, the second term is 7, and the ninth term will be 35. Example A, I give you 1 minute to try. Okay, the n terms of a number sequence is 3n minus 7. Work out the difference between the 5th and 10th terms in the sequence. Okay, n terms also known as position to terms rule. Alright, so here you can see different way how the topic was questions. Alright, so you need to be wise, you need to know the basic, whatever the question is, as long as you know the keywords, as long as you know the formula, you should be survive. Alright, and now here we only focus with the 5th and the 10th terms, and also you need to know what is difference. And you need to use this sequence, the n terms formula 3n minus 7, and first figure out the 5th terms and you should get 8, the 10th terms you should get 23, and then you need to get the difference. When we talk about difference, we are talking about subtraction. So find the difference, big number minus small number. So big number is 23 minus with 8, and the final answer is 15. Now, let us move to finding the n terms. Notes page 35 and 36, and the worksheet will be 32 and 33. We are now in page 35. So, the learning objective for this second subtopic, the finding the n terms, you need to use algebraic linear expression to describe the n terms. Linear, okay, linear. And when we talk about linear, the hint for it is common difference. Okay, apply the formula un equal to dn plus c. This formula you already familiar because we already learned this formula during year 7. Apply the formula un equal to dn plus c to find n terms. Here, the objective here in this part, you need to create the formula. You need to form that formula. Okay, that is the key for this second subtopic. All right. Steps to success. First, recall formula un equal to dn plus c that you already learned in year 7 to find the n terms. Second, calculate the constant, this c. You need to calculate that c. And then you need to change or substitute the value for d and c to work out the n terms, to create the n terms. And last one, you need to solve the question given. You need to read the question carefully and solve it. Okay? Now we move to example 9. Find the position to terms rule, the n terms for the following sequence. And remember, this position to terms rules, we only deal with linear expression. Okay? We only deal with linear expression. That means for linear expression, we need to have common difference. Okay? We need to have common difference. Therefore, in exam, in your further study, before you start using the formula un equal to dn plus c, you need to find out either the sequence have common difference or no. Okay, so here we try to get the difference, and here it show you that we have common difference. Therefore, we can use this formula. Okay, un is the n terms, and I will use the first position, so 5, n equal to 1, and then we find out that c equal to 5 minus 1, and c equal to 4. And then step 2, rewrite the formula un equal to n plus 4. When we rewrite the formula, we only include the d and also that c. Okay, hence our d here is 1, Therefore, we don't have to write 1 here. And the answer for this example will be UN equal to n plus 4. Next, example 10. I will give you 1 minute to try. Okay, now example 10, by using the formula UN equal to dn plus c, find the fifth term for the sequence. So when you are asked to use this formula, that means this sequence is a linear sequence. Okay, and here we only need to focus to find the fifth terms, but here the formula is not given. When the formula is not given, so you need to figure out the formula first. Okay. So step 1, you need to find C and the n terms. You need to find out the formula. So I use the first position. So the first position, the terms is 15. And then substitute n to be 1, C equal to 15 minus 4, and C equal to 11. Okay? And use this formula to figure out the fifth terms. So step 2, to find the fifth terms, UN equal to 4n plus 11. Okay, we use the new formula here, 4n plus 11, and then substitute 5 into that n, and you should get 31. And the final answer for this question is 31. Now, we move to example 11, and I give you 1 minute to try. Alright. Example 11. The first 5 terms in a number sequence are 10, 7, 4, 1, and -2. And for part A, work out the n terms of the sequence. So repeat the same steps. Find C and then figure out until you get the formula. Okay. And then your formula will be UN equal to -3n plus 13. And why -3? Because the difference is -3. Okay, follow the difference here. Change D into -3 and 13 from here, C. So UN equal to -3n plus 13. And then your final answer is UN equal to 3n plus 13 for your part A. Now, the last part for our session, example 11b. For this example 11b, you need to find the 50th terms of the sequence. You just need to use the formula that you find out in part A, and then you just substitute n to be 50, and then solve it. Therefore, the final answer for the 50th terms is negative 137. So this will be the last part. And don't forget to complete your notes and your worksheet. And as usual, we will end our session by reciting dua. Thank you so much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Doa selepas belajar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inni astaudi'uka ma 'allamtani fardudhu ilayya inda hajati ilaihi wala tansani ya rabbal alamin. Ya Allah, sesungguhnya aku menitipkan padamu ilmu-ilmu yang telah engkau ajarkan kepadaku, dan kembalikanlah kepadaku sewaktu aku memerlukannya kembali. Dan janganlah engkau lupakan aku kepada ilmu itu, wahai Tuhan yang memiliki semesta alam. Amin.